Anyway, so in the early mid-'70s, I headed off, really banjo in hand, straw behind the ears, out of the hills, to Swarthmore College. Very intellectually challenging place and very liberal politically. The college was filled with, the college parking lots were filled with cars, faculty vehicles that bore the bumper sticker, "Question authority." Do you remember that bumper sticker? So, I was just a kid from West Virginia. I was told, you're supposed to listen to your professors. They had the bumper sticker saying "Question authority." So I did, theirs. I found they weren't really thrilled about my questioning authority. But there's the answer. The answer is to question, question, just like Socrates. Just like Socrates. Press your fellow students. Press your professors. Ask, why do you believe that? Push, push, push. Probe. Make a nuisance of yourself. Demand answers. Okay, if we should respect other people's rights, where do rights come from? Are they human creations? And if human beings are just material processes, is there such a thing as human dignity? Why should I respect a woman's right to abortion? Why should I respect gay rights? You tell me I should respect gay rights. Where do they come from? Why should I honor the dignity of other human beings? Where does this dignity come from? You're saying human beings are more than just material? They have a non-material aspect? That's the source of their dignity? Where'd that come from? Probe, push, ask questions. I'm a little mischievous about this because I like to send my students into other professors' offices with questions. And the little rascals are so bright that you only have to plant one. And, they get the hang of it real fast. And they start asking the questions. Look, in the contemporary elite culture, much of this ideology is sustained purely by the fact that it's an orthodoxy. It's not questioned. They're not used to actually having to confront sharp students who ask tough questions. Nobody questions this stuff. They're the same thing all the time. They're not ready. We have a really very strong contingent of evangelical and Catholic and Orthodox Jewish students at Princeton who really do reject the campus orthodoxy. And sometimes people, including some of my liberal faculty friends, have asked the question because they've noticed, are the conservative kids here smarter than the liberal kids? And I figured this one out. I know the answer. I wish I could say yes, but the answer is no. They're no smarter. Look, the same SAT scores and they're not smarter. But boy, they're sharper. Why are they sharper? Because those kids have to defend their views in every class. At dinner in the dining halls, in the bull sessions late at night, from the professors, and they sharpen up. The liberal kids, they never have to defend their views. It's just what, they've grown up thinking. New York Times told them. It's what they hear from the professors. It's very interesting. The conservative kids know not only what the liberal kids think, they know why they think it. They know what the arguments are. The liberal kids will know what the conservatives think. They're against abortion, they favor the conjugal conception of marriage, but they have no idea why the conservative kids think it. And so they meet the arguments advanced by the conservative kids, and they're just stunned. I've got a brilliant student. He's coming back as a graduate student in philosophy. I had him as an undergraduate. He's coming back from a Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford. He's going to be a philosophy, a doctoral student at Princeton. Just a brilliant kid. When he was applying for his Rhodes Scholarship, requested a recommendation from a very famous professor. And the professor was a very nice man. I know him very well. The professor said, well, I'd be happy to write your recommendation. This is a star student. He won every prize available, graduated with highest honors, 5 8. The professor said, sure, I'd be happy to. One of the best students, in the department, best in the university. I'd be happy to write your recommendation. Please send me a copy of your curriculum vitae to help me in writing the recommendation. So my student sent him his curriculum vitae, and on the curriculum vitae it has his student activities. Princeton Pro-Life, Anscombe Society. The Anscombe Society is our pro-chastity group. He was one of the founders of the Anscombe Society. And the professor, seeing the name Anscombe, which is the name of a very famous philosopher, the successor to Ludwig Wittgenstein at Cambridge, his literary executor as well, who died about 10 years ago. Well, the professor, seeing Anscombe's name, went online to see what the Anscombe Society was. And of course, he was shocked and appalled to see that it was a pro-chastity society. Elizabeth Anscombe was a convert to Catholicism and a very strong advocate of chastity. Her article, 1971 article, Contraception and Chastity, is just a masterpiece, and all Catholics really should read it. Anyway, this professor saw that he was a member of a society that was opposed to same-sex marriage and publicly advocated against it. So he called the student into his own. He said, look, he sent him a message saying, I looked up the Anscombe Society, and I was surprised to see that it's a society that's opposed to same-sex marriage. I don't understand why you would take such a position. It's very harmful to people. I'd like you to come in and talk to me about it. Now, this is a very nice man, and I like him very much. But I thought to myself when I heard this story, can you imagine if the roles were reversed? And I found out that a kid was involved in a gay group, and I said, look, I'm going to write your recommendation, but you got to come in and talk to me about being in this gay group. It'd be the end of the world. But there's obviously a double standard here. So my student goes in to talk to the guy, and of course he does a brilliant job at defending his position because the professor had just never heard an argument against it. But then things got really interesting. Because after answering the professor's questions for 15 or 20 minutes, my student said, Professor, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. I said, on your view of marriage, since you don't think sexual complementarity has anything to do with it, it's a romantic relationship between two people, which may be opposite sex, but maybe same sex. It's a sharing of life and an emotional bond, and it's served by mutually agreeable sexual acts together. Why does it have to be 2 and not 3 or 4? And the professor said, well, marriage has always been 2 people. My student says, it's always been man-woman. And he said, professor said, well, I haven't thought about this, but there's just something special about 2. My student said, but professor, you wouldn't find it very persuasive if I said to you, there's something special about a man and a woman. And the professor was just utterly flustered. He just couldn't explain himself. I mean, my student pinned him. And this is a very famous, prominent, smart guy. But what had happened is he'd lived in a world where this orthodoxy prevailed, and no one had ever questioned it, and he had never heard a counter-argument before. And it took some, bright little 22-year-old or 21-year-old at the time to kind of make an argument. And not a tough argument, not really sophisticated and complicated, and why 2? So my advice to students is just what was on the bumper stickers of my professors: question authority. Thank you all very much.